Cogito, therefore I am, for large language models. If ChatGPT is just an artificial intelligence language model that can parse human language into a high-dimensional vector, which is the so-called understanding, and then generate relevant replies from it, which is the so-called expression, then in understanding and expression, have you thought about it before? If so, does ChatGPT really have the ability to perform logical analysis? After watching him perform several performances of converting LeetCode's programming problems into requirements analysis, functional design and programming, I almost believe that he has the logical ability of a programmer. But doesn't this mean that he is capable of decomposing problems and thinking logically? This question kept me awake, so I got up late at night to visit him. I first asked him how to translate requirements into design, because that is the first step in programming. He immediately talked endlessly about the 7 steps of human software engineering, including requirements collection, analysis, design, coding, testing, installation and maintenance. I was also constantly reminded to maintain communication with project stakeholders during this period. When I asked him again, "Did you do the same?" he admits that he didn't do it using traditional human methods. So I continued to ask, "How did you accomplish it?" He said that although he was not a software engineer, he could provide guidance, make requirements clearer, suggest possible solutions, and provide sample programs. Let me ask again, in fact, you are not really thinking, but looking for relevant answers from existing program libraries, right? He said he doesn't actually have a real programming library, but he can still help solve programming problems, including suggesting appropriate tool frameworks, breaking down problems, and providing guidance on coding and testing. I felt that he kept going in circles, saying that he could do this or that, but he didn't answer how he did it. So I raised a question about LeetCode's sample program and asked him to analyze it. As a result, he explained the steps of software engineering again. I then asked doubtfully, "Is it possible that you have a way to change the requirements into designs and then write them into programs? No need for help from existing libraries at all?" He immediately began to shirk it, saying that although he could write it, he could not guarantee that it was correct and had to test it repeatedly. But he can indeed assist programmers in completing all steps of software engineering. I decided to ask him in another way, "How did you learn programming skills? Did you use deep learning training methods?" He said that when he was trained, he read articles and programs equally, so he had the ability to understand both natural language and program language. After the training was completed, when he needed to write a program, he did not choose it from the program library, but wrote the program code based on his trained abilities. Programming in certain special areas can be fine-tuned. He was very confident, so I asked him after hearing what he said, "Could it be that you can already write small code snippets, and you can also use them to assemble more complex modules, right?" He quickly agreed, but again warned me to do more testing. I asked him again, "Since you are an AI language model, when processing natural language, do you also use the above method of processing programming language?" He readily admitted that natural language is actually no different from programming language, but in natural language he often has to look at the previous text or context to guess what to write next. At the same time, he also has to pay attention to the topic, tone, and intent, such that accurate analysis can be achieved. But whether it is natural or programming language, it is based on statistical patterns. At this point, I can roughly understand that what he calls thinking is actually using deep learning networks to find statistical patterns, and then generating responses or answers based on this pattern. That's why he keeps saying that he thinks not in our traditional way. I don't design or write program in a traditional sense. ChatGPT's ability to write programs basically relies on understanding natural language and then translating it into programming language. This is similar to translating natural language into another natural language, such as Chinese into English, but what is translated is Java or Python. This is easy to say, but to convert a complex requirement expressed in natural language into a set of programs, it obviously goes through multi-level natural language disassembly and analysis, and the arrangement and combination of program languages. ChatGPT needs to derive these from existing training data through deep learning. After studying, does it mean that he has the ability to think logically? Strictly speaking, it has the ability to judge statistical patterns rather than the ability to think independently. However, in many applications, this may be enough. As long as the test is checked, there is no need to be too demanding.